more a mid-career kind of update. See how the game's going, see if anything's changed from my first video when I did about a week ago of when I first got the F1 game. So I guess in my career I've gone with Aston Martin. I've done the, I think, 16 race season. I just cut out a few of the races, otherwise they're just too long. I do 25% races, one-shot qualifying. So I just wanted to have a look at a few things and just how the game stacks up as past iterations. So at the moment, doing pretty well. I had the AI set pretty low at the start, just to get my bearings. I had it at about 65, I think. I've now raised it to 79 or something like that. Still getting used to it. I guess season results, when we're looking at different races, 8th in Bahrain, 7th in Melbourne, 2 podiums in a row for Imola and Miami. Miami, surprisingly, was a super easy track. I found that to be probably the easiest street circuit I've ever raced on. Spain 5th, Azerbaijan 5th. Now Canada is when I lifted the AI. Had an incident at turn 1 with Danny Rick. He spun me around. I qualified 12th, ended up finishing 10th, which was a pretty good fight back. And then Great Britain, Silverstone, which I found to be a lot nicer to drive in this game than previous games. Maggots and Beckett's used to drive me nuts in the old games. Came 7th, so qualified I think 10th and worked my way up to 7th. Currently in a rivalry with no one. I think I beat Lando my first rivalry. Sucked in Lando. So here are my details, I guess. 0 poles, 0 constructors, 0 drivers championships, 2 podiums, which is pretty good for Aston Martin. Average qualifying grid spot 9th. Average finish 6th. So not doing too bad at the moment. So I guess what I'm going to do is I might do some R&D. So R&D is very similar to previous games. I'm just going to recommend an upgrade. Obviously, it'll take me it's taking me to the front nose cone construction. Get that sorted. Recommend another one, so I've got enough points. Advancing time, so with mirrors, I've set them up a bit previously. Fuel tank. Now, what's different in this game in career mode is
they'll be on the car, ready for the next race weekend.
So you can do autocross, time attack, and it gives you a car. This one's the Ferrari Roma. I'm not going to do one. The feel of these GT cars, or whatever cars they are, the supercars, is a lot different, and I'm finding it really hard to get my head around it, and it's only for 1,000 acclaim points, so I'm not finding any benefit really. So I'll skip that and go straight to Austria. I guess I'm doing the quick practice, so I'm just simulating practice sessions. Reason being, I guess, is I haven't really got time to sit here and go through 3 practice sessions, Q1, Q2, Q3, and a full race, or even a 50% race. They do take quite a while. So I do the quick simulation of the practice sessions, one-shot quali, and 25% races. Haven't raced at Austria yet, so this is my first. I'm not even going to bother doing any practice. I'm just going to jump straight in and give it a go with when it's up to quali. So it's a wet race, which is going to be fun. Next session, quick practice. So again, this is very similar to previous versions of the game. Gives you the 3 options of different areas you want to pursue. I think this one was, I didn't even look at it, I just clicked on it. Obviously you've got a half an hour time limit. Only successfully completed 1 race strategy, so end session, ended vice versa, so you just keep going with the 2 practice sessions there. The game does take a little while to load, but it is what it is, I guess. Yeah, so just before I go into quali, I'm going to check my engine, my power unit. So you can see here my internal combustion engine. I'm up to my 2nd already, and I'm only up to race 8 or 9, so I'm halfway through the season. That already need to go to my 3rd one. So degradation of the parts is quite high. What I'm noticing, MGUH probably should replace. I could always go back to that if the other one goes quicker, and then 53, I'm happy to leave the gearbox there because that changes automatically every 6 races or so. So yeah, I'm just going to head on to qualifying. Okay, so before I go out, obviously I want to do a setup, so custom setup, and now I've got my trusty setup here. So my front wing aero, I'm going to set to 14. So I just found this online. I haven't got time to sit here and muck around with setups. So I find a guy, Sim Racing Setups. He does awesome setups. Like the car really performs well when I use his setups. So I'm just going to go with that. Rear wing, I'm going to set it down to 22. Obviously less aero on this track because there is so many straights. Transmission, I'm going to go 82% on the on throttle, and then 55 for the off throttle. Suspension geometry, 2.5 front camber, 1.1 on the rear camber, which is quite high. Front toe, I'm going to go 0.05, so all the way down, and then 0.2 on the rear toe, so again all the way down. Suspension, now this is quite a different setup for what we usually use on this game, and I think it is track specific, so I'm going to go front suspension down to 2, the rear suspension up to 7, so that's really different compared to what we usually do. Front anti-roll bar, I'm going to set that down to 2 as well, again quite different. Rear anti-roll bar 7, and then 3 and 4. The ride height kind of stays the same for most tracks. I don't think I've changed it yet. So brake pressure, I just do 150 front and rear, and then my tire pressures, I'm going to go 24.7 on the fronts, and then 22.5 on the rears. Okay, throw that there, save. Austria, done. Alright, let's give this a go. First time on the Austrian track. Now, one thing that I have noticed in this game, which is a huge difference, is that the throttle is much more responsive. So you can't just slam it into a corner and go for it. Like already, this Aston's not the best, so I'm already 19th, but I'm sure I'll make that up somewhere, hopefully. You can't slam the throttle down, so this is obviously a really bad lap from me. You can't slam the throttle down because what it does is it throws the car into a spin. And with all the aids off at the moment, so I've got every aid off, I don't have anything on, no traction control. The other thing I've got on is a racing line in corners. So you went to go then. You got to be really gentle with the throttle control. So 17th, Seb as my teammate's probably been qualifying around here on average. And then we go into the tailspin, so gonna have to flashback that. Yeah, just the throttle response is totally different to past games. Once you get the hang of it, it does make for much faster lap times. But it's taken me a while to learn it, considering where I was at in the previous game. So 16th, it's not too bad. On a track like Austria with the DRS trains, we can make progress on the race, which is fine. So let's see where Seb ended up. So definitely not in the top 14, so I'm feeling confident. Where are we? Yep, so Seb and I were half a tenth apart, which is probably where we should be as teammates. A tenth or so is pretty good. So yeah, we'll just see how the race goes. Yeah. Thoroughly enjoyed that lap actually, even though it wasn't the best. It's the first time Seb's out qualified me all season, so you know, probably should have done at least one practice session, but it's fine. 1/10, I'm not too worried, I'll get him on the start. The one thing is, this game has mirrored what happens in real life. So this is a sprint weekend, so the first race, which is great, makes it for quicker viewing, is the sprint race. So obviously qualified 16th. I'll be trying to make ground up to start the Grand Prix on in a higher position. But yeah, I'm actually finding the sprint format to be quite good. We had the first one obviously earlier in the year. I think it was Imola. Managed to make quite a bit of ground up at that one, so I think I ended up on the podium. So the biggest difference, I guess, with this game, as I said, is the throttle, but also the AI. The AI, their racing is quite, it's quite realistic. They don't make stupid moves for the most part, and they respect, you know, I guess racing etiquette. But also DRS in the previous game, so F1 if you were a second, like bang on a second, 9/10 off the car in front, you hit that DRS and you were making up 6-7 tenths just on the straight with using DRS. That doesn't happen in this game. You probably make up 3 or 4 or 5 tenths, considering it depends on the car difference. But it's more realistic, way more realistic. And I mentioned in the first video that I did that I mentioned in the first video that I didn't feel much through the controller. That's because I have all the assists turned on. Now that I've turned them off, this controller is just constantly vibrating. You can feel the car when it's ready to slide. So you adjust your throttle. So it's actually really realistic, not arcadey at all. When it comes to the starting grid and all of that kind of thing, I do have to adjust my race strategy, because for some reason the game defaults to putting a whole heap of fuel in that is not required. So this is obviously a 6-lap race, so I just go about 6.5 because for some reason I seem to chew up the fuel. Start sprint. So the biggest difference on this formation lap, now you can turn this off, but I kind of like it. It adds a bit of, I'm finding if I don't warm my tyres up properly, my start is horrible. And you can use the little graphic here. It gives you all the temperatures. So my brake temp at the moment is 30 degrees, so it goes up quite quickly, but my tyre temperature and carcass temperature is sitting around 80. So we're trying to get the heat in. And what I tend to do a couple of burnouts on my way to the grid, as they do in real life, and that tends to light the rears up. And considering it's a sprint race, I don't have to worry about tyre deg too much. So I'll get those rears lit up quite quickly when I'm on my way to the grid, turning around the last corner. And the other thing that's different, and you won't see it in this because there's no pit stop, is that when you're in the pits, you have to choose when to turn in to the pit box. Whereas in the past it did it for you automatically with pit assist on. This one you still have to hit a button for it to turn in at the optimal time, and depending on how good your reactions are, that kind of dictates how fast the pit stop is. And obviously, like in real life, if you miss your pit box, it's going to take longer because the mechanics have to move, so it's actually quite cool. Same with this though, so you can see now they're starting to reform the grid. Obviously, because I'm at the back, it's started a lot earlier than where I'm at, but I also have to hit my point on this, and it tells me whether I hit it or not. So I'm going to slow right down, a couple of burnouts. I totally missed the pit box there, but whatever, I mean, green light. So purple is obviously optimal, same as a lap. So we're going to try and reach optimal RPM. It's quite hard with the controller. Crappy start. Let's see how we can make up. Whoa. Some front wing damage. The other thing I've noticed too is I've got damage pretty much simulated, and these cars, as we've seen in real life, are much more robust than what they have been previously. So you can have little contact with someone, and the car won't damage itself, which is pretty cool. psycho. Whoa! And that they do tend to turn in on you for some reason. Obviously flashback, as I said, Lando does it, so he's a professional race driver. Doesn't bother me. Got tagged on the back there by bloody Gasly. So you can see going around the outside. AI is quite good. It's already made up a few spots here. Obviously DRS doesn't kick in for a few laps, so I've got to try and maintain 1 second to the car in front. I've already dropped Alonso by 6/10, which is good. I'm sure I can catch up along the straight because this Aston with the Merc power unit, and it is quite realistic in that way. The Merc power unit has nothing down the straights, so you can already see he's. I don't know, I'm dropping in, which is strange, but and getting that throttle right without spinning the wheels or putting it sideways has been the biggest thing for me. Because I never really had that issue in the past. You could brake into a corner, slam the throttle down, and the car would kind of correct itself. Whereas in this game, it totally just goes off by itself. Just spins in a circle. The curbs are a lot nicer kind of to the car, which is good because that was the only thing that used to throw me off in the previous game. You hit a curb at the wrong angle and it just launch you. But you can't into that corner. In the previous game, I would have the throttle all the way down, not a care in the world, and it would make it every single time. With this one, we just you gotta ease the throttle on. So DRS is on. And as you can see, I'm not making, and I'm kind of in a train here, but you don't make those massive grounds that you'd be making in the previous game. Track a little bit, sure lose the position there. Oh, Alonso got through. Sneaky Alonso. Classic Alonso. Oh yeah, he George Russelled me. So you can see that the racing is quite clean. Once you get the throttle down pat, you can make those inroads. That was going to spin out on me then. Yep, definitely was corner cutting. I almost lost the car. So you can see, even now, when I'm feeling quite confident in the way the car handles, I'm losing it around some corners because I just can't. Control the throttle as well as what it needs to be. So I don't know if I had pedals and wheel, it would be different. We actually podcasted about the Austrian Grand Prix tonight when we discussed this 3 DRS zones in a row, and it doesn't seem to have as much of an effect in the game as what it does in real life, surprisingly. Because, you know, Alonso hasn't got DRS there, and I still wasn't able to catch him, so I don't know if that's an indictment on this power unit in this thing, or yeah, trying to catch Alonso now. 2 more laps to go in the sprint. Definitely going to be a better starting position for the Grand Prix than what it was for the sprint, which is good. You can see, throttle barely touched it. The car went over. So here we go again. It's the second time. So still learning. Still trying to get that perfect throttle every time. And it is a lot, if you just coast into the corner, then hit the throttle. But when you're trying to keep up with the car in front, I don't really want to be coasting and losing too much time. So I've got 2 laps to catch Alonso. It's half a tenth in front of, half a second in front of me. Too far back to make a dive. Let's see if I can get him in this corner. I think I'm still too far back. So the Alpine is quite quick, which is an issue. Got my concentration face on. So that could have been better, lost a bit of time there. And it is really good, like, if you make those kind of mistakes, it will cost you time. Whoa, what's going on here? Managed to catch all these cars somehow. Something's happened. Last lap. Let's go, baby! I don't know how they were pulling away from me though. Far out. I'll take that, thank you. Idiots!
Okay, clear.
So the AI does make mistakes, obviously. But with each other, somehow. So I managed to make up 6 spots in the sprint, which is nice, in 6 laps. Just couldn't get past Alonso, he got me. He's a wily old fox, as Martin Brundle would call him. Or Crofty, I think Crofty calls him that. Crofty's super annoying. I apologise for bringing Crofty into this. Oh, one more lap, I reckon I would have had him. But that's so far my experience. As I get more into it, I'll do some more videos. I'll do an end of year 1 career mode. Oh, driver of the day, happy days, lads. Yeah, as I get more into it, I'll do some more videos. But I definitely recommend, if you're into kind of that sim racing, the feel that I'm getting through the controller at the moment, yeah, bang on. Like, this is so much better. And I said it to Anthony tonight as we were recording the pod. I said it's the hardest game that I've played, but the easiest. So that throttle response and all that is really hard to get the hang of. But once you get it, your lap times come straight away. There's no mucking around there. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you have anything that you'd like to ask, or if you think I'm full of crap, which more than likely I am, let us know. And yeah, thanks for watching some Racing Line TV.